Hey friends, thanks for joining me again today for another chapter of Charlotte's Web. We have reached chapter 15, and it's a rather short chapter today, but here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd really like for you to listen to the word choice and the vocabulary that E.B. White, the author, uses in this chapter. Now, when we talk about word choice, authors and writers choose their words very carefully because, like I told you before, they're kind of like an artist and they're painting a picture in your brain by the words that they use. This is something very, very important that good authors pay close attention to. And this is something that you can do as a writer as well. Okay, when you're writing your stories, you can think very carefully about not just what you want to say, but how you want to say it. For example, instead of just saying, "We had lots of fun," instead of saying that, you could say, "We had the best time of our life." It's saying the same thing, but it's saying it in a different way that makes the reader really understand how you feel. All right? So in today's chapter, it's a shorter chapter, but listen for some very important vocabulary words. Some of the words you'll know, and some of them you might not know. But the cool thing is, even when an author uses a word, a fancy word that you might not know, it gets you thinking about what that word could mean, and it may even make you want to look it up or to figure it out, okay? So E.B. White is great at using good vocabulary and word choice. Chapter 15 today is called Crickets. The crickets. The crickets sang in the grass. They sang a song of summer's ending, a sad, monotonous song. "Summer is over and gone," they sang. "Over and gone, over and gone. Summer is dying, dying." The crickets felt it was their duty to warn everybody that summertime cannot last forever. Even on the most beautiful days of the whole year, the days when summer is changing into fall, the crickets spread the rumors of sadness and change. Everybody heard the song of the crickets. Avery and Fern Arabelle heard it as they walked the dusty road. They knew that school would soon begin again. The young geese heard it, and they knew they would never be little goslings again. Charlotte heard it, and she knew that she hadn't much time left. Mrs. Zuckerman, at the work-in kitchen, heard the crickets, and a sadness came over her too. "Another summer gone," she sighed. Lurvy, at work building a crate for Wilbur, heard the song and knew it was time to dig potatoes. "Summer is over and gone," repeated the crickets. "How many nights till frost?" sang the crickets. "Goodbye, summer. Goodbye. Goodbye." The sheep heard the crickets, and they felt so uneasy that they broke a hole in the pasture fence and wandered up into the field across the road. The gander discovered the hole and led his family through, and they walked to the orchard and ate apples that were lying on the ground. A little maple tree in the swamp heard the cricket song and turned bright red with anxiety. Think about that word, anxiety. Wilbur was now the center of attraction on the farm. Good food and regular hours were showing results. Wilbur was a pig any man would be proud of. One day, more than 100 people came to stand at his yard and admire him. Charlotte had written the word radiant, and Wilbur really looked radiant. Did you figure out what that word radiant means? Think about the sun on a really bright day. That's kind of what the word radiant means. Charlotte had written the word radiant, and Wilbur really looked radiant as he stood in the golden sunlight. Ever since the spider had befriended him, he had done his best to live up to his reputation. When Charlotte's Web said, "some pig," Wilbur had tried hard to look like some pig. When Charlotte's Web said terrific, Wilbur had tried to look terrific. And now that the web said radiant, he did everything possible to make himself glow. There you go. Radiant means to kind of be bright, shiny, and glowing. It was not easy to look radiant, but Wilbur threw himself into it with a will. He would turn his head slightly and blink his long eyelashes. Then he would breathe deeply, and when the audience grew bored, he would spring into the air and do a backflip with a half twist, and the crowd would yell and cheer. "How's that for a pig?" Mr. Zuckerman would ask, well pleased with himself. "That pig is radiant." Some of Wilbur's friends in the barn worried for fear of all this attention would go to his head and make him stuck up, but it never did. Wilbur was modest. Fame did not spoil him. He still worried about the future, and he could hardly believe that a mere spider would be able to save his life. Sometimes at night, he would have a bad dream. He would dream that men were coming to get him with knives and guns, but that was only a dream. In the daytime, Wilbur usually felt happy and confident. No pig ever had truer friends, and he realized that friendship is one of the most satisfying things in the world. Even the song of the crickets did not make Wilbur feel too sad. He knew it was almost time for the county fair, and he was looking forward to the trip. If he could just distinguish himself at the fair, there's another good word, distinguish, and maybe win some prize money, he was sure Zuckerman would let him live. Charlotte had worries of her own, but she kept quiet about them. One morning, Wilbur asked her about the fair. "You're going with me, aren't you, Charlotte?" he said. "Well, I don't know," replied Charlotte. "The fair comes at a bad time for me. I shall find it inconvenient to leave home, even for a few days." There's another good word to think about, inconvenient. "Why?" asked Wilbur. "Oh, I just don't feel like leaving my web. Too much going on around here." "Please come with me," begged Wilbur. "I need you, Charlotte. I can't stand going to the fair without you. You've just got to come." "No," said Charlotte. "I believe I better stay home and see if I can get some work done." "What kind of work?" asked Wilbur. "Egg laying. It's time I made an egg sack and filled it with eggs." "I didn't know you could lay eggs," said Wilbur in amazement. "Oh, sure," said the spider. "I'm versatile." There's another good vocabulary word. "What does versatile mean? Full of eggs?" asked Wilbur. Do you see how Wilbur took a guess at what he thought the word meant? Now let's see if he's right. "Certainly not," said Charlotte. "Versatile means I can turn with ease from one thing to another. It means I don't have to limit my activities to spinning and trapping and stunts like that." So versatile means you can do many different things very well. "Why don't you come to the fairgrounds and lay your eggs there?" pleaded Wilbur. "It would be wonderfully fun." Charlotte gave her web a twitch and moodily watched it sway. "I'm afraid not," she said. "You don't know the first thing about egg laying, Wilbur. I can't arrange my family duties to suit the management of a county fair. When I get ready to lay eggs, I have to lay eggs, fair or no fair. However, I don't want you to worry about it. You might lose weight. We'll leave it this way. I'll come to the fair if I possibly can." "Oh, good," said Wilbur. "I knew you wouldn't forsake me when I need you the most." All that day, Wilbur stayed inside, taking life easy in the straw. Charlotte rested and ate a grasshopper. She knew that she couldn't help Wilbur much longer. In a few days, she would have to drop everything and build the beautiful little egg sack that would hold her eggs. And that's the end of chapter 15. We're getting closer to the end of the story. Until next time, friends, see you later.